This next panel session is, I've really been looking forward to that because I've spoken to a lot of you over the past few days talking about partnerships and how we can be stronger with partnerships with other organizations, with municipalities, with private companies, but how those partnerships can make a real difference, how they can accelerate our own efforts. Because very often we are relying on others to do what we do, and do what we do well. So this particular session will address that from different angles. And I'm really excited to introduce Dot and Mariam from Sweden. And I think you're going to be talking about the public-private partnerships and how that can make a real difference. And I'm hoping as well that that will give you some ideas as well of how that can happen in your local community, and hopefully also a lively discussion afterwards. So take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're delighted to be here and to be part of this fabulous monster that Ola has created. So much energy. I don't know where to begin to go home with all these thoughts. Ola, thank you so much. Well, my name is Dot Gade Kulovuori. I'm a Danish girl who I found a Finnish man, I moved to Sweden. That's my short story.
Yeah, and my name is Mariam. I am captain for the youth project. Yes.
Okay. You wonder, Nyköping, where is that? I've had the question a couple of times. It is 560 kilometers from Copenhagen, and it is 100 kilometers south of Stockholm. That's where we are. So, our challenge was, I think, which is something I share with some other chapters, that we didn't have the bikes rolling as much as we wanted to in the summertime. So we thought, what can we do about it? So we have one tri-shore bike that was given to us by the Swedish Red Cross, to our local Red Cross. And then we had the opportunity to use 5 of the municipalities side-by-side bicycles. So we thought, what are we going to do during the summertime? We have to think out of the box. So we contacted the local savings bank presenting a unique youth project. The municipality usually employs young people from 15 to 17, but we wanted to introduce this project to young people of 18 to 21. So we asked for money to actually give them a salary. The Red Cross cannot do that, but we got money from the local savings bank. So we employed Mariam, which is the best thing I've ever done. Mariam said, I would like to be the captain and the pilot. And so she was the captain of Philip and Mio. And that actually then got the interest of the municipality. So they contacted us and said, should we try and write a PPP agreement between the municipality and the Red Cross, which is something is then presented to the social welfare, vad heter nämnd? Board in the local municipality. So we signed a 2-year agreement with them to develop meaningful activities in care homes for the elderly. So they have to have a good heading so that we can sell it to them. So what does that mean in practical terms? It means that the Red Cross has to deliver. We have to employ and train youth captains and pilots between 18 and 21. We have to offer 200 hours of cycling. We have to supply statistics of the cycling season. We have to arrange meeting with relatives for the elderly because we want to try and get them to bike with their own aunt or mum or dad. We have to participate in local happenings, showing our activities. So I did that the day before yesterday, before we came here, when it was a Swedish National Day. We were showing off our bike. And be part of a steering group, 2 participants from the municipality and 2 from the Red Cross. and produce and present the activity report to the social board. And the summary of the season 23, 4 wonderful young people. You realize she's back? Yeah. And we had Cedra, we had Edwin, and we had Albin. And, whoop, oi! Aren't we quick? I think I'll try and go back. Kan jag få hjälp? För nu... Jag pressade bara en gång. Det är inte mer. Nu ska du prata. Oh, sorry. Man ska ha det lägre. Jag är van.
So, let's see. Let me go back to this slide, maybe. Yeah. So, I'm going to talk about my tasks and what my job involves. So I take care of the planning of the work. So I am basically the link between the care homes and the pilots. So that includes a lot of scheduling, that includes a lot of planning, establishing when do you want us to come, when are the elderly most available. And planning the schedule, as I said. Contacting the pilots, because I don't know if you know teenagers, but sometimes they are very hard to contact. So, but yeah, so making sure to call 1, 2, 3 times if something goes wrong, and making sure that the bikes are fixed as well. And of course, a lot of biking, because I want to be part of the field as well. What else? Yeah, so there were some challenges, of course. Swedish summer, it's very beautiful, but especially during August, there is a lot of rain. So we had a lot of bad weather, and we had some sick pilots. And also one of the biggest challenges is actually engaging the coordinators. So often the care homes, they should work with us, right? But sometimes, especially when people take their vacation, it's sometimes hard to establish that contact, and we need that communication to be able to do our job. So yeah, that leaves room for a lot of miscommunication, unfortunately, between us and the care homes. But yeah, as you will see later, we have worked on improving that. So we have some statistics. We cycled 500 hours during last summer, and 130 tours, and we had 300 passengers in total. So, of course, some of you guys talk about numbers in the thousands, so maybe it's not very impressive, but we've done the best we could, and yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and we have included 9 care homes, and this year we will add, I think, 2, right? So we will engage more care homes to be able to actually involve all of the municipality, because sometimes, unfortunately, the care homes that are outside of the city, the ones that are in the country, they get a bit ignored, but this year we're going to make sure to be able to involve them as well. Yeah, so we learned a lot, and I think we all know the value of intergenerational relationships, especially between young teenagers and the elderly. And as Pernilla was saying in her presentation, it's not a one-way, it's not that you give something to the elders, but they also give you something. So it's definitely a reciprocal relationship. And yeah, I mean, they always look forward for us. They always look forward to the biking. And yeah, the youth also feel that they have a very meaningful summer job. And also, of course, we spread information about this organization. So yeah, there are some things to improve for next season. We established that the most important things is to have coordinators at every care home that can help us to make sure that there are always passengers available, because the problem is that the elderly love to bike. They want to be out as much as possible. The problem is having that coordination with the personnel. Is there healthcare professionals that can help us get the elders onto the bike and out of the bike? Because since we don't have any professional training, we're not really allowed to touch the passengers, because that could lead to, unfortunately, it could lead to some injury, or as we are teenagers, we should leave that to the healthcare personnel. So, yeah, that's our main challenge. But this year we have really made sure to talk to the coordinators very early, and yeah, better instructions for the youth. So yeah, there are a lot of reflections, and mostly very positive. So I've actually Dot told me yesterday there was one of the pilots, who was it? Edwin. He was actually kind of skeptical of working with older people because, yeah, he was kind of skeptical in the beginning. But then when he had this summer job, he felt that he was so comfortable, he became comfortable with that, and now he's working in a care home himself. So it's really amazing what impact it can make. Yeah, so, and also all the stories that you hear from the elderly, it's just, yeah, it's just beautiful, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this. Yeah, so we've made some improvements as well. We have, as I said, it's very important to meet the coordinators and ensure that they understand what their role is, because if we can't communicate with them, we can't bring out as much elderly. And we have to ensure that we have a stand-in when the ordinary coordinator is on vacation, because we work only during the summers when the youth are available, so that's really important. And lastly, we have prepared some better instructions. Yes.
Okay, and before we see if you... before we give you the chance to ask questions, I actually have an answer for you coming here. This is what it costs the local municipality for a season. And yes, you can ask me for a translation of the actual paper we asked the municipality for money, if you want to. But I can only supply it in English. Sorry.
So we'll do the Q&As at the end of all three presentations. I'm thinking, would it make sense for you to sit here so you can see the presentation of the ones before you? Yeah, yeah, and I'll call you up. So our next presenter is, is Greg Clover from McHenry County in Illinois, USA. And we've actually, we've met over stateside. Yes. Some years ago, and it was the terrible winter of 2020, right? Early 2020, when it was almost impossible to get out of the United States again, and we were sort of going from airport to airport trying to get home. But I remember specifically going out for a bike ride. I think it was in Warsaw, Wisconsin, and the temperature was definitely several degrees below freezing, whether it's Fahrenheit or Celsius. And suddenly, Holly starts singing opera. In the middle of the ride, in the winter time, there was snow all over the place, and that just cheered the whole ride up. So I think that was very special. I'm hoping also that you'll let us sample a little bit of your singing as well during this summit as well. Yeah. Would you like that? So, Craig, take it away.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Again, my name is Greg Glover. Yeah, that was fun. Except, yeah, Pernilla threw me on the trishaw, said, "Here, go, take off." I'd never even been on a trishaw before. So we hadn't started our chapter yet, so that's why we were there, to understand what this whole thing was about. So that was a hoot. Except I was so afraid I was going to crash the thing off into into the ice and snow. I'm like, oh, geez. Anyway, okay. So I was asked to comment about collaboration and partnerships, and I thought, well, how do I do that? You all know everything there is to know about partnerships anyway, but I thought I would at least reflect on my experience in starting up a chapter. But first, let me just show you where we're at here. So where's McHenry County? It's very near Chicago in the state of Illinois. We're about 50 miles northwest. We've got 300 and some thousand total population, 46 some thousand people over 65. And I'm reflecting on Pernilla's comments like, okay, what does 65 mean? But anyway, we'll just pick that as a number. 32 care facilities, so that could be anywhere from independent living, assisted living, memory care, or nursing. And our chapter currently serves about 16 of those, as well as we do public rides. So that's just to set some context. So back 2019, and what do we do to start a chapter? I had no idea about a nonprofit. I had no idea about anything. How do you raise money? How do you recruit volunteers? How do you do scheduling? What does that look like in order to get to the goal of doing rides, which, hey, that looks really cool, but, how do you make that happen? So, I'll touch on a few examples, basically, of my experience. So the first, of course, which most of you probably experienced when you got started, was fundraising. Well, I thought, because I was an enterprise architect, how hard can this be? That what would happen is I'd come in with my little pitch. I literally had a PowerPoint printed out, little sheets of paper, and I would show it to our local business people because we actually knew, had personal relationships with many of the local businesses. We talked to the Rotary people, and they would just give us bags of money. Actually, what happened was they said, "What a great idea! You go for it, Greg," and with no money. And so that was a surprise, And so I said, okay, maybe I need to do a little more homework here, and who can I get to help me? And, that's the theme here. We had a nonprofit organization that helped other nonprofits. So I said, well, okay, maybe I better ask for some help. So I went and talked to them, and, they gave me, actually I talked to them many times, so she finally relented and just gave me a free membership and said, here, you can have access to the grant database. Here are tools on how to write grants. And so I learned how to write grants. And I would never have envisioned doing that unless I'd asked, for that help, all right? So probably 80% of our funding ended up coming from grants and foundations and some personal donations. But, I had to eat some crow and then go ask for help, right? From people that know a lot more than I did. So, and these are some examples of some of those grants and that we ended up getting. The second example would be, besides the care facilities, we do public rides, as you all do as well in your chapters. So what I thought would happen is that we could just do the whole soup to nuts. And some of you do this as well and do it very well. We would do the scheduling, set the marketing, schedule everything, and do all the rides and register everybody. Our experience was it was really a pain in the butt because we had our little spreadsheet system, and then we had to call the people back, and are you really going to be there? And oh no, and then trying to get the volunteers. And so, oops. Oh, I ended up clicking on that, sorry. So again, what we found it's worked a lot better for us is reaching out to our local recreation programs. So we have, each city has a park district, the county has a conservation district, we also are working with a local library, and then just this year, the state park system also, and each of them are doing the registrations, so, and marketing. So they publish a brochure each year, you know, here's our events, you can sign up just like you do yoga class or, you know, whatever. So that's what they do for us, and then we come and do the rides. And that's really worked out nicely. And, you know, it gets them skin in the game with our program. So they just love, you know, what we do. And again, I had never thought about doing this, right? You're getting the theme here like, oh, I can just do all this and it'll magically happen. And that really wasn't how it worked at all. So this has just been really a great benefit. So volunteer scheduling, we're going to talk more team building this afternoon, but this was our little experience with this too. You know, what I thought was, we'll set the schedule and then everyone will sign up for all the rides. And that's, I can just sit back and, you know, it'll be great. And of course, that's not what happened at all. This is our actual schedule in May of this year, but you know, we had 50% attrition the first year of that we did training, and I ended up, you know, every week calling, texting, hey, we need this slot filled. We need, you know, and I'm sure some of you have experienced that. So we've really focused a lot more on. First of all, as soon as we train new volunteers, getting them a first ride, you know, getting them out there right away and doing the ride as well as transport, because we do a lot of transport. And then, as I know, captain has usually used the term, we use a big wheel. I like that kid in the little, you know, tricycle thing. So we call them big wheels, but you know, the idea of having a coordinator at each location. That's better. We still got more to do there, but we're finally getting to that point. So I am not the one having to call every week, you know, hey, we need to fill this ride slot. Transportation and storage. This is our last example here. So when we started out, we had this big enclosed trailer, and because we have to, all our care facilities are not next to each other at all, so we have to end up transporting the trishaws all over the place, pretty much. So we thought, oh, this would be a rolling garage, you know, and then we can just park it around, and oh, that'll be great. And what we found was that a small little trailer that just fits the trishaw was a lot easier to handle. All of our volunteers could easily back this thing around. So this is what we actually end up using all the time. By the way, if you look at the front end of the trailer, you'll see it's named. And we have one named Ole and Ciara. So we have 4 of them. The 4th one isn't named yet, but I don't know. We're open to suggestion. Anyway, so the relationship to partnerships here is that we've been really fortunate because where do we store these things? You know, the weather, it's crappy. So we have partnered with the conservation district, the park district, and now 2 of our care facilities who have garages. Most of the residential facilities don't have garages, right? Because residents don't drive and it's expensive to build garages, but 2 of them have. So we have free indoor exclusive storage with our own security access to all these locations. And that's absolutely, we could not operate without this. So reaching out to those facilities has just been absolutely key. And again, I would have never envisioned that when we started. So again, the theme is how our chapter operates and what I thought would work has been totally two different things. So lastly, and just to summarize, so, my two keys is whatever you think will work probably isn't the right answer, and learn and adapt. So all those entities are who, we've ended up having to reach out to. And that's resulted in these numbers. We start out with 1 trisha in 2020, 2 in 21, 3 in 20, I can't read this right, 22 and 23. This year we've got 4 trishas. I don't know where we're going to end up numbers-wise, but it doesn't matter numbers-wise, does it? Whether you give 1 ride or you give 1,000 rides, it's the lives we touch. So anyway, this is all the entities that we've partnered with, and that's really the key, as you all know, to being a success. So thank you.